We talked a lot about Enduro yesterday, but there's another key element that we didn't tell you about, and that is the bikes and the equipment. The riders have stickers on their wheels, on their fork, on the front and rear triangle of their bike, and they are not allowed to change it for the course of the race. If they do have to change any of those parts, they get a time penalty. So we've gone into the pits, we've searched for some riders, and we have found out how they keep their bikes running not only for just one race, but for the whole course of the season. Whoa! I've been waiting for this moment for days. What have you done to your bike to kind of make it durable? Because it's a big part of Enduro, and especially on these big long stages, it's like making your components last.
The big one will be downhill casing tyres. I don't think I've ever raced with anything other than that. Punctures are a big way to ruin your race.
I've learned quickly that you need really good tyres, really strong tyres. So I've been riding the downhill casing for quite a while now.
Suspension has gotten a lot better, and that's in like the frame design and like fork and shock obviously, but they've gotten so much better that they last throughout the run a lot better, so they're doing their job longer, and then they just absorb more of the impact. So I think we have a lot less flat tires because of that. We have still, like, I think downhill casing tires haven't changed too much.
We are running on the Maxxis DH casing compound tires, so that's pretty strong, and also on very rough tracks we are using the cashcore inserts on the wheels. It's maybe a little bit heavier, but I feel that I'm more relaxed and focused for racing, not like worry about the punctures. Alloy rim, it's way easier to repair if something happened. Yeah, I think for Enduro it's a better choice.
I always go for downhill casing tyres. Like, for me, that's number one. You want to keep airing your tyres, hey, for a whole Enduro. Otherwise, yeah, you lose a lot of time on a stage. I run a downhill rim in the rear, Enduro rim in the front for like a bit less kind of hand fatigue, but downhill rim in the rear for a little bit more strength. I can't remember the last time I had a mechanical in a race, which
And are you running the flight attendant on your suspension?
Yeah.
And how's that been? Because that's a massive development for Enduro. Like, it's going to be super useful.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Like it could be as easy as just like locking out your suspension at the top of a stage, but you just forget, and I don't want to have to like think about that.
Are you overriding it a lot during the stage, or are you mostly just kind of letting it?
Mostly automatic. Yeah. It's just sometimes. If it's like a flat traversy section and I want it to be consistently in, like, I run it in the pedal mode for override. So for some pumping and that kind of thing, it's been really cool.
It raises the ceiling of what's possible in terms of adjustment and what you can do in the stages to win time as well, like with the flight attendant. Being able to, having it automatic and not thinking about it, but also having the override option to use on certain bits of track. For most people with flight attendant, you just put it on and forget about it. And it just makes your life easier. Like climbing up a hill, your bike is solid and it's so much easier. And I think then when you bring it to racing like we do, you can find these little gains and tweaks that you can get out of it, which is cool.
And were you running the live valve all season, or is that new as well?
No, that's the new also. So, but we checked it yesterday with the JT, my teammate, so it was like kind of surprised that's working very well. So I'm open to try it on the practice and then decide if I want to use it on the race or not.
mine's in like auto mode basically, so it changes between open, pedal and lock itself. It kind of, with the pedal sensors and the sensors in the fork, I leave it on automatic mode, and that's
like
all
for
I
the
need.
whole race?
Yeah, whole race.
No way.
Yeah.
Do you have the override?
I have an override mode to lock, so if there was something...
Oh, to lock?
Yeah, so if there was something that I was like, I need it to be locked here, like this has to be super efficient, I might lock it if it didn't lock in practice, like on that section, but I don't think I've used it all year. So like literally auto mode, it's like changing between those three modes all the time, and I let it do its thing.
These bigger days where you're not going to the pits as often, what are you carrying? Have you got stuff like wedged in your bike somewhere?
Yeah, I think I'm the guy that carries the stuff.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, like I've got a pump on my bike.
Greg the camel.
I think most of the Group A men have used that at this stage. I haven't, but you know, everyone's tweaking tire pressures or getting slow punctures. You want a pump, not a CO2. Inside the frame, I've got a little bag full of bits and bobs like chain links and valves and tube. And there's little things like, having been around for so long, like I never ride without a valve cap. Because I remember in 2014, I think, Rene Wildhaber lost a race because a rock flicked up and hit his valve and broke the cap off, the head off it. So I've never ridden with a valve cap since then, without one. So like I have one of them, and it's all these little things that over the years you kind of, something happened to someone and you're like, okay, don't get caught out there.
With a new bike, we got a frame storage, so that's really, really handy. It makes such a big difference. So I can, I've got a pocket with a tube, tire levers, a spare valve, chain link, plug insert in my cranks, CO2 in the frame storage, and then I take one of these mini pumps with me, just in my back protector.
I carry a tube, a pump, tire lever, inflator cartridge. I have a little thing of chain lube. I have a spare battery. Like I'm quite like I'd rather carry more things and finish the race than be out somewhere and be like, oh damn.
Is there anything you've changed from the start of the season to now on your bike or your setup? Because it was big pedal days like at the start of the season. Now we're in the mountains, we've got the chairlifts, you're descending for over 2,000 meters this weekend. What changes, have you made any?
Quite a bit actually, yeah. So because Pietra and Poland were they weren't so steep, they're more flat and more about generating speed. So I ran a smaller setup on the bike. I had a Super Deluxe rear shock and a Lyric 160 fork. And now, since those two races, I've gone to Vivid in the rear and a Zeb 170 in the front. So I've beefed the bike up really, just because now it's more gravity orientated since then for the last few races. So that was something we tested in the off season. It was a kind of pre-made plan.
The biggest change I made was changing the shock. So I went from the Flotix Live Valve Neo, which is the electronic shock from Fox, to the Flotix 2 now, just since last week. It just makes the bike a bit more comfy for these really long stages and rough. Also I went from riding with no tire insert for the first few races to get more like a really light bike, really agile, to now riding a Panzer in the rear.
Even if one part of a weekend might be more physical, more pedaling, the other part will still be super rough and gnarly and technical. So it's always a balance, and I feel like very rarely do we go to a venue that is all the way on one end. You know, I can think of a few in the past, like Derby would be one, Rotorua would be one, where like you can get away with a lot lighter setup and almost a different bike probably. But now most of the Europe venues we'll have one stage that's maybe like, oh, I wish I had a smaller bike, but every other stage I'm like, no, I need my bike to be like on the most durable end and just getting through it.
I haven't changed too much. Like I tend to run a similar setup all year. Maybe tunes of suspension would be the only things that I change through the year. So here might run a slightly different like fork tune to kind of help keep the front end up on the steep tracks.
I think that's a big thing that's not spoken about that much, is how a lot of our homework needs to be done before you get to a race. Because we've only got one run of practice on each stage, if you're changing things during practice, you're not riding the same track again, so it's hard to feel that change. And you also need to focus on the track, not your bike so much. So.
This bike is like a Yeti SB 160 with the anniversary paint job. It's like everything new and fresh for this round. I'm trying to keep the bike at the same configuration for the whole year. I'm not worried about like set up my bike to avoid the like tiredness or like whatever. I feel that I can pedal through the whole day on this setup and feel also pretty fresh for descents.
Well, I've just had the goss, but we can't tell you yet. You're going to have to wait a bit longer.
The O-chain.
O-chains.
Oh, there's a twist to this race. There's a night stage for the first time ever.